Hello friends, this is Jim here with Science Talk, and I now want to bring you a report on what's happening with the glaciers in the Himalayas. I talked about what goes on in the Himalayas before. I've concentrated a lot on Greenland and Antarctica, but Himalayas also contain a significant amount of ice. So what's going on up there? Well, the rate of glacier thawing and melting in the Himalayas has doubled in 40 years. And of course, scientists say this is due to climate heating. Okay, a new comprehensive study shows that glaciers melting, caused directly by rising temperatures, has accelerated significantly since the turn of the century. The study, which looks at 40 years of satellite observations across India, China, Nepal, and Bhutan, shows the glaciers have been losing the equivalent of more than basically half a meter of ice each year since 2000, twice the amount of melting recorded from 1975 to 2000. The study, published in the journal Science Advances, is the latest to show the threat that climate change represents to the water supplies of hundreds of millions of people living downstream across much of Asia. This is the clearest picture yet of how fast Himalayan glaciers are melting over this time interval and why. And this is a statement from Joshua Maurer, who is a PhD working on his doctorate at Columbia University Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory. Yes, good old Columbia University, good old Lamont Doherty. Wally Broker's old stomping grounds. Now, he goes on to say that although it has not been specifically calculated in this current study, the glaciers may have lost as much as a quarter of their mass over the last 4 decades, 25%. With around 600 billion, would it be, tons of ice today, the Himalayas are sometimes called the Earth's third pole, after Antarctica and Greenland. Recent studies suggested the glaciers in the Himalayas are dwindling, and that a study published this in February of last year projected that up to 2/3 of the current ice cover could be gone by 2100. Until now, most observations looked at single individual glaciers, and I've done reports on looking at single individual glaciers, or perhaps just specific regions, or maybe even where they've looked at not as comprehensive a time frame, shorter time frame. Well, the new study incorporates data from across the whole entire area, incorporating satellite observations, as far back as we have satellite observations up to the present. The melting is consistent over time and in different areas. Rising temperatures are to blame. There may be variations from place to place, but from 2000 to 2016, they average basically 1 degree C, 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, higher than those from 75 to 2000. So there's at least a 1 degree warming there, and we see, boom, and a 2 to 4-fold increase in melt rate. Maurer and his co-authors analyzed repeat satellite images of about 650 glaciers over 2,000 kilometers. And I love this statement. Many of the 20th century observations came from recently declassified photographic images taken by U.S. spy satellites. So what the researchers did was they created an automated system to turn these into 3-dimensional models that could then reveal any changes in the elevations of glaciers over time. And then they compared these images with post-2000 optical data from, obviously more recent technology, more sophisticated satellites that will show the elevation changes more directly. And what they found was that from 1975 to 2000, glaciers across the region lost an average of about 1/4 of a meter of ice each year. And then starting the very pronounced warming that occurred in the 1990s and definitely continued in the 2000s, the loss accelerated about 0.5 meter annually. Recent yearly losses have averaged about 8 billion, would be tons of water. Now the melting, as would be expected, has concentrated mainly at lower elevations, where some ice surfaces are losing as much as 5 meters a year. Ice loss in the Himalayas resembles the much more closely studied European Alps, where temperatures started increasing just a little earlier. Glaciers in the Alps began melting soon after, when temperatures started going up in the 80s. And rapid ice loss has continued since. The Himalayas are generally not melting as fast as the Alps, but their changes are similar. Well, the Himalayas are also higher elevation than average of the Alps, so it will be cooler at the higher elevations. Now, their study does not include the huge adjoining ranges of high mountain Asia, such as the Pamir, the Hindu Kush, or the Tian Shan, but other studies suggest similar melting is occurring there as well. About approximately 800 million people depend in part on seasonal runoff from the Himalayan glaciers for irrigation, hydropower, drinking water. The faster melting appears so far to be increasing runoff during warm seasons, but scientists think this may slow within decades as the glaciers lose mass, eventually leading to water shortages. So you might want to start storing that water. Now here's a bit of a macabre aspect. In many high mountain areas, meltwater lakes are building up rapidly behind natural dams of rocky debris, threatening downstream communities with outburst floods. Here's a macabre bit. On Everest, the long-lost bodies of climbers who failed to return from the summits are emerging from the melting ice. So, yowzer. So what's the general consensus? Antarctica is losing its ice. Greenland is losing its ice. The Alps are losing their ice. The Himalayas are losing their ice. It's all melting. Why is that? Planet-wide, temperatures are increasing. Why is that? Humans are burning fossil fuels. We have a direct correlation now. You know, the science is settled. Humans are causing all this stuff. So, but, you know, as the Himalayas lose their ice, that's going to affect all those millions of people. I mean, India has what, 2 billion people there or so? That's a third of the, at least a third of the, or close to a third of the world's population. A little less maybe, but they have a significant portion of people there. You know, a lot of people across Asia, they depend on that meltwater for crops and drinking and so on. If that water gets lost, guess what? It's going to create dried areas. It's going to create climate refuges. And as I just did in a video segment, this can increase to the possibility of increased conflicts. Not sustainable. Remember, carrying capacity. Number of individual species, ecosystem can support based on available resources that are continually replenished. Things are not being replenished. A drastic decrease in human population numbers is coming. The number of factors for it: wars, climate deaths due to climate change, what have you, starvation, pestilence, but it's coming. Not going to be pretty. Thank you for your time. Hello folks, this is Jim here with Science Talk, asking you to please subscribe to my channel and to inform others of my channel and of the work that I do. Please share to social media platforms that you use. Also, as a reminder, don't forget to click the bell so that you know when I load up more videos. Finally, I ask that you support the work that I do by becoming a patron at patreon.com. Details in the description box below. Thank you for your support.